Hi everyone, this is Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH1502 Introduction to Community Media, and this is the summary overview video of the 19th lecture, which is about report writing and the process and the structure of putting together a report. And what we're going to cover in this lecture is the kind of broad aims and elements, if you like, of an academic report. So my expectation is that this is the first time that you've done this kind of thing. Excuse me, sorry, I'm just kind of, I think I need a glass of water, but I can hang on. So this is the first time that you've done it. So what we'll be looking for is for you to have a go and to use the structure in the, this is the first time that you're familiar with these things, so the kind of language, the kind of structure, the kind of evidence, the kind of reporting that goes into it in terms of citations and things like that. I want you to kind of, you only become familiar with these things by doing them. So having a go at working with the report structure will be really useful. After Easter, because your community media project will be pretty much finished and your blogging hopefully will be finished, then we'll be able to spend the last 3 weeks looking at this in the workshops in terms of how you structure and organise your report, and you can use that time to be writing your report and kind of getting evidence back about it. So the kind of what we'll go through at the lecture is kind of what we need to think about in terms of what a report is about. Remember, a report is a practical process. It's a practical product that we want to get something that we can benefit from. So think about it, the easiest way to think about it, at the end of the report, when you've distilled all your ideas and you've brought all your evidence together and you've made your points, remember you're not writing an essay, so you're not making an extended argument. So you're gathering evidence, and then you can come with a set of recommendations. So you can kind of say, in the next project or in the next another type of project that you're going to work on, do this and don't do that. It's kind of like you can come out with a list of recommendations. These are the things that you think are the priority for further study. These are the things that you think are the priority to address the social gain, the social benefit questions that we want you to be examining. And what are your recommendations? Now, we're not at the stage where we have the idea of being able to share these things. And I think, it would be really good if we can publish these and share them. I think the idea that we learn from each other in these reports would be really useful. Maybe as our confidence levels increase, but it's kind of, we're not there yet. So they're marked individually, but maybe it would be nice. So think, if you shared this with your colleagues, what would they gain from your insight? It's a useful way to think in terms of what do you teach other people and what practical tips can you offer other people in the process of you working on your report. So what we'll start off with, we'll recap a little bit about the kind of critical thinking that we talked about in the previous lecture in terms of what the critical dispositions are, the kind of attitudes that you have, and in order to produce what the academic process is founded on, which is a kind of sense of open-mindedness. It's a kind of sense of being able to trust the reasoning process. There is a process going on here, and there's kind of three more ways in which we can identify reasoning, but there's kind of three main ones that we talk about: deductive, inductive, and abductive. And deductive is, the Sherlock Holmes idea of there's a cigar in the fireplace, and he surmises or he deducts the idea that it's a 6-foot-tall Welshman who's just got off the train from Bristol. And how does he do that? Well, he makes these leaps of imagination and ingenuity, but most of the time our reasoning works on an inductive basis. So what I would have to do is to go to the railway station and observe how many 6-foot-tall Welshmen get off the train from Bristol, how many of them smoke cigars, then find out what kind of properties they go to, which number of properties have got fireplaces, and how many they have, how many dispose of their cigars in the fireplace, and then we can come to a reasonable assumption that it is that group of men who are likely to be those ones who are discarding their cigars in fireplaces. So it approaches the problem from the other way round. The third one is the abductive reasoning, and you've probably experienced this. We do this every day. Most of our life is spent in a kind of abductive state where we walk across town or we walk through a supermarket and we wonder how we got from A to B. And we kind of turn up and go, how did we get here? What's this? Because you've been busy thinking about something. So we work on a level of instinct as well. And that's a very important component of our thinking. But I suppose the academic process is about separating out our instinct and saying, actually, what is it that we can tangibly think about that we can use practically in other circumstances. So the kind of way that we think about kind of academic engagement is kind of our level of fair-mindedness. We're not just relying on our own opinions. We're not just relying on assumptions, but what we're doing is we're gathering evidence. So we don't make statements in our work that says X is Y. Based on our own personal assumptions, we have to find evidence that says the evidence points towards X being X and the evidence points towards Y being Y, and when we bring the two together, we can verify that we have an outcome which is Y. So we separate those things out. That's the challenge of the academic process. The question then is, how do we structure this into a report format? So we're looking at the kind of how we ask questions in a report, how we reflect on the information that we're gathering as we produce the report, what kind of diligence we need to show that we are capable evidence gatherers, that we're capable of collecting and supporting evidence which gives our claims credibility. So it's not just us that are saying it. The reason I have all of these books is that when I make a statement in a lecture or in a workshop or in a research paper, it's generally supported by two things. One is the collected evidence from people who have previously published in these areas, and two, the direct primary evidence that I gather through my studies and my research activities. So it being in that position where we can use our evidence in a purposeful way is very important. So what we'll look at some of the kind of evaluation criteria for reports. So kind of what makes something an excellent paper, what makes something a mediocre paper, and what makes something a good paper, because I think it's important to map these things out. And the assessment criteria is available on the Coursework D brief, which is available on the DMU Commons wiki, and it's also available in the module handbook, so I'd well recommend that you look through that to see what the kind of expectations are, so that also you can ask questions about that. I think it's going to be very important that you do ask questions about that. So let's start from the basics. What is a report for? What do we do with a report? So that then changes the question of how we structure and write a report. And we want to ask the question, who's reading our report and what is it that they might expect to gain from using that report? So the kind of the last part of what we want to talk about is the kind of style of the way the report is presented. Now, one of the things I do with the lecture notes and the workshop notes is I present them in the report format style. And I'll show you what that format style is. It's very simple, very basic. It doesn't need to be fancy and well designed. It can be very, very stripped down and minimal, but it's well organised so that you can find information at each section of the document. And we'll look at, if you like, some tips about writing styles and the use of, this is very important, but the use of citations and the kind of citation management. So this is really about you having the opportunity to explore. This is your first year, this is the first time you've done this. How you approach this will be useful for the rest of your studies, and hopefully it'll be a good way to help to organise your thinking and to demonstrate that you're able to work in an organised and thoughtful manner as well. Right, the notes for this are up on the DMU Commons wiki, so just go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk. You can download them as a PDF. If you want to have a conversation about this and add something to the debate and discussion about this, if you've got any examples of how this works best, more effectively, some tips or anything like that, please log into the DMU Talk platform, which is talk.our.dmu.ac.uk, and pick and choose a topic or add a new topic and share your experience on there. So I'll see you at the lecture.